One of the questions that we often get asked when out and about with the association exhibition stand is how big a garden do I actually need to run real steam trains in 16mm narrow gauge in my own garden? And of course the answer depends on what sort of trains you want to run. If your ambition is to run those massive Garretts with big curving track work and long trains, then you're obviously going to need a larger garden than if you're quite happy just puddling around with a small 040 and a few wagons and doing a bit of shunting. And of course the main advantage of the association is that there's loads of other members out there who've got a variety of different railways that you can go and run on if you either don't have your own line or if you just want to change. So for instance, within about 30 minutes drive of where I live, I can probably run on perhaps a dozen different lines, all of their own different characters if I want to, and assuming that there isn't a pandemic going on and social distancing. So what we want to do with this bit of video is show you how we set out to try and answer that question when we were considering writing the new 16mm guide to garden railway modelling. And part of that was to take this newfangled technology that often gets derided in the media of a drone and get some aerial photographs of 16mm lines in action. And if you're already a member and you have the guide, you'll have seen some of our annotated photographs in there. If not, then this alone is probably worth your membership fee. Anyway, let's jump on and show you some 16mm from the air with the aid of a drone. So here we are on Alan Regan's line, built for the continental loading gauge and using 45mm gauge track. It's, I suppose, what you could describe as a folded dog bone style of line. The storage sidings are way up to the top of the picture alongside his garage, and then there are effectively two circuits of the garden using a up and down slope to join them together into a sort of spiral formation. This gives obviously a much longer run, and as you can see the line, which continues to be developed and has been developed further since these shots were taken, is virtually invisible in places amongst the foliage and planting of the garden. This is Appleton Junction, one of the East Midlands area group lines, and here a slope in the garden is taken advantage of to give a rear raised steam up bay area behind that sort of decking area for watching trains go by. And then you can see a fairly tight spiral brings the trains down, and a number of bridges takes the line across the garden paths. There's also a lower station area off to the right hand side of the picture. This is Steve Hines' line, again in Nottinghamshire in the East Midlands, and it's developed over a number of years, and as his family has grown and developed as well. So the initial line was comparatively modest, and allowed a lot of the garden to be used for a growing family's activities. Subsequently, as the children have moved on to university and the like, so the line has developed, and you can see there's an area there as well with the sort of the V-shaped steam up bays, which remain removable, so that when we have an area group meeting, you can expand the steam up area when he's simply running for his own pleasure. It's smaller, again a sort of folded over layout approach, so that the line raises and lowers in height and gives you effectively 2 circuits for the price of one. This also has a street running area, and you can see it all annotated. This is one of the lines that features in the 16mm Guide to Modelling. This is the Berry Hill line of Steve Acton, and again this is a comparatively small garden which has taken advantage of some height changes in order to pack a lot of railway into a small space, and also because it's been developed over a number of years, the landscaping really looks very effective and blends the line in. Having a bit of a slope also encourages drivers to really drive their trains. This is Nigel Town's line in Derby, and here he's used a mixture of the Filcris recycled plastic products and also some significant concrete and brick building to establish a relatively new line which is designed partly around his love of long South African based narrow gauge trains. So you can see some pretty big sweeping curves here, taking full advantage of what I believe was a former vicarage garden. This is Ian Shield's Ashfield's Light Railway, another popular location with the East Midlands area group. This is essentially a one level line, although It's not quite as level as he originally planned it to be, I believe. And again, a number of bridges to take it over the garden paths, and some raised beds areas, as well as a small tunnel. And just off to the bottom of the picture, extensive steam up areas to take account of visiting locomotive drivers. So hopefully that gives you some insight into 16mm from the air, and perhaps some ideas for developing your own narrow gauge garden railway. Finally here we're just ending up with some ground level shots of Bob Newton's extensive folded dog bone system, where a series of spirals gains and loses height around the garden, doubling the length of the line,